we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Shereen, if you would proceed with the roll call, please.
Brandt.
Here.
Frick.
Here.
Mueller.
Here.
Schild.
Here.
Greenway.
Here. We do have a quorum, and item number 2 is to approve the agenda before us.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mueller.
Yes.
Brandt.
Yes.
Frick.
Yes.
Schild.
Yes.
Greenway.
Yes. Item number 3 is to approve the minutes of our March 9th regular scheduled school board meeting.
Approve the minutes from the March 9th, 2026 school board meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, roll call.
Mueller.
Yes.
Schild.
Yes.
Brandt.
Yes.
Frick.
Yes.
Greenway.
Yes. Item number 4 is the time in our meeting where if any board member has a conflict of interest to disclose, please disclose it at this time. Hearing none, we're going to move on.
Kathy, I think it's item 5F on today's agenda.
Okay. So I'm going to move to the consent agenda, item number 5. And with your comment, I'm going to go ahead and pull F. And I'm also going to pull G so that we can vote on those separately. Good?
Motion to approve the consent agenda item pulling F and G.
All right. And a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda less item F and item G. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Brandt.
Yes.
Frick.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Schild.
Yes.
Greenway.
Yes. So back on the consent agenda, item F is the contract amended for Clara Shield. Is there a motion to approve the contract?
Motion to approve the contract for Clara Shield, consent agenda item F.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve item F, Clara Shield's contract amendment. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Brandt.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Frick.
Yes.
Schild.
Abstain.
Greenway.
Yes. Second item is G for us to vote on separately, Tiffany Mueller contract amendment. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve Tiffany Mueller's contract amendment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, vote please.
Frick.
Yes.
Brandt.
Yes.
Mueller.
Abstain.
Schild.
Yes.
Greenway.
Yes. Moving on, it is item number 6 and time for our public comment. Did anyone sign up to speak?
No, not tonight.
All right, very good. Moving into item number 7, this is our time for our good news and student achievement, and it looks like Mr. Moore's got drawn for the first spot.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. I don't know if it's good news or bad news, but I see there's a big thunderstorm to the north of us. We probably could have used some of that moisture out there, but it sounds like there's some hail north of us. I don't know if that's good or bad. Well, here's what's going on. The spring at Yankton High School, Yankton Middle School, and the Yankton School District is a really busy time of year. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of kind of what's going on and what's coming up here over the next month, because things are going to happen in a hurry pretty quickly here. Our boys tennis team is off to a fantastic start. They have a dual record of 10 wins and 1 loss, which is fantastic. And keep it on your radar. We host ESD boys tennis on May 11th and 12th. So that'll be right here. We hosted the girls back in the fall. So there are 9 of us in the ESD that have tennis. T doesn't have it yet. So once every 9 years, we get to host that. Our softball team is at Sioux Falls Jefferson tonight. They are 2-1 on the season. So they're just getting off to their season and getting rolling. They're at home this Thursday if you want to check out the girls softball team against Sioux Falls, Washington. The high school girls and boys track and field teams are at home tomorrow. We have a triangular with Brandon Valley and Mitchell. So if you're available and you want to check that out, I would encourage you to do so. Our next big event is the Yankton First Dakota Relays, and that is on Thursday, May 7th. Our girls golf team opens their season this week by going to the Harrisburg Invite, and that's on Thursday. And then their big event is the Yankton Invite, which is at Hillcrest on May 8th. And then next week, they actually have 2 events at home at Fox Run on Tuesday and Thursday. So they've got a little busy stretch of home events, which is great. On the fine arts side, if you would like to see the spring musical play, it is Annie this year. So that'll be held on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, skip Sunday, and on Monday. So we'll have that 4 nights, 7 p.m. all 4 nights. So we've got a lot of kids who've been working really hard to put on a great show for you guys. So if you can make it out there to watch them, that'll be super. Our elementary students from Beetle, Lincoln, and Stewart are coming over to the high school this week on Wednesday. We're going to bus them over there, Stewart in the morning to watch the musical, and then Beetle and Lincoln in the afternoon. So all 1st through 5th graders are going to get a chance to see the play. So maybe they'll go home and tell their parents that they need to go watch it again because they like it so much. Other things that are coming up, we got a lot of concerts and events coming up. Our all-school orchestra concerts on April 23rd. Prom is right around the corner, believe it or not, is on April 25th. That's a Saturday. Our high school spring choir concert is on April 27th. The Yankton High School Athletic Awards Program is on April 30th. The Yankton School District Art Show at the middle school is on May 1st and 2nd. The end of the year band concert for the high school is on May 4th. Academic Awards Program for the high school is on May 11th. Baccalaureate for the high school is on May 13th. Fine Arts Awards Program is on May 14th, and graduation is on May 17th. So things happen fast and furious. And there's a lot of other tennis, softball, track, and golf in there that I didn't throw into. So things are nuts right now. Any questions for me? All right. Hopefully we can see you guys at some of these events that are coming up. Appreciate the time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Morris. Mr. Decker, you're up.
All right, some good news at YMS. We got a lot going on as well. This March, our student leadership and student council, they presented the annual March for Meals coin competition. So that was a really fun way for our school to kind of build community. And they had a competition between grade levels, and each grade level, you know, our leadership folks, they kept track of the points and how much money was earned for the Center in their Meals for Wheels program. And it was pretty unique that the 8th grade or the 7th grade did a really good job, but our 6th grade won, and the prize was a dodgeball competition during their homeroom. And it was really fast, and talk about fast and furious. It was 90 seconds per dodgeball game. And I threw on my whistle, and I felt like a PE teacher, and it was awesome. The guy gave me the opportunity, and we were go, 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 go. And well, I think one game came down to a rock, paper, scissors to decide a winner. But we had a trophy, and there was a champion, and it was pretty fun for our 6th grade class to get to do that. And you know, we raised some money for the center, local agency. But it was pretty fun that the 6th graders got to experience that, and a fun thing they did during the month of March. And then we had, for the 7th and 8th graders, the YMS Spring Dance. That was last weekend on Friday. We did a little something different this year, and we put it in the YMS North Gym, and I think it turned out really well. We had concessions right there. There was a lot more space for kids to kind of hang out with their friends and dance. There still is an open invitation for all board members to come to a YMS dance. Just give me a jingle. We can have you supervise, and it'll be great. But it really was a successful dance, and it's fun to see. You know, for a lot of these kids, it was the highlight of their weekend and even the highlight of their week. So it was really fun to see them kind of let loose, and they didn't have to worry about schoolwork or anything like that. It was fun to see them have fun with their friends. And some upcoming things for YMS. We have the watershed, or I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Camp Med is on April 22nd, and that's where local healthcare agencies come in, and they get to show off what they do to our students who are interested in healthcare careers, and I think that's really cool. I believe that's just 7th grade, which is awesome for the 7th graders to get to see that too. We have a lot of tours coming up. So we have the 5th graders coming to YMS on April 30th. And they get to get tours from YMS leadership students, as well as they get to eat lunch. Lunch is their favorite part. They're like, I love lunch. I love it here. And you're like, all right, keep that attitude in August, so it'll be great. But we have that coming up, which will be great for 5th graders to get a chance to see how YMS works. And then our 8th graders on April 30th are also going to tour YHS, so they get a tour of the high school. And along with that, they do the tour, I believe, or vice versa in the morning with the Missouri River Water Festival. So it's pretty neat. Hopefully there's a beautiful day for that. Knock on wood that it's a beautiful day. But so those 8th graders are going to have some fun on April 30th. So we got some things towards the end of April, and then before we know it, May comes by, and we got our awards day at the very end of the day. So we're bumping and we're doing what we can here at YMS. So fast and furious, like Mr. Morris said. So. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Decker. So as board president, I'm going to take a moment of privilege here, and I'm going to add to our good news as well. So I do have one item of good news that I'd like to share with the community this evening. Each meeting, we always take time to highlight the accomplishments of our students or our staff in the district and even our administration. But tonight I would like to take a moment and turn that spotlight on another individual. I was notified about a week ago and asked to share this announcement at our April school board meeting. So without further ado, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to announce that Dr. Wayne Kindle has been selected as South Dakota's Outstanding Superintendent of the Year. So, your fellow colleagues summarized this to me as follows. Dr. Kindle is widely regarded as one of the most respected superintendents in our field. His steady leadership, thoughtful decision-making, and deep commitment to students and communities set a standard that many of us strive to meet. I am genuinely proud to call him both a colleague and a friend. This prestigious recognition is well-deserved and reflects Dr. Kindle's exceptional leadership and lasting contributions to public education across the state of South Dakota. A formal press release will be issued tomorrow, Tuesday, April 14th, and Dr. Kindle will be officially recognized at the South Dakota School Administrators Summer Conference in Chamberlain. On behalf of the board, please join me in congratulating Dr. Kindle again and thanking him for his outstanding service to our students, our schools, and our community.
Okay, can you turn the air up? Because I'm about ready to pass out. Thank you, Kathy. It's an honor. I don't know what else to say. I would say it's bigger than me. It's about everybody in this room. So thank you.
All right. Item number 8 is the review of our school board policies, and we do have our school district attorney, Mike Marlowe, here that is just going to go through and review some of the board policies with us. Are you ready? All right. Before us, we do have the 2 policies that Mike's going to go over for us. We have the employee grievance procedure, and then we also have assignments and transfers before us. So everybody have that? All right. So Mike, I will let you go ahead and take it away.
Well, after all that busy news and the unexpected good news, let me give you a nap time here. My name is Mike Marlowe. I represent the school district, have for a long time. Nice to be here. Some new board members I haven't met before. which is usually a pretty good thing. It means we haven't been meeting in executive session talking about legal issues or any appeals and that sort of thing. So that's great. I was asked by Kathy and Jacqueline to visit with you folks a little bit about two policies that we seem to have some recurring issues, more so than most of the policies. We're one of the largest employers in the city of Yankton. We have, 400 and some employees, something like that. A whole bunch of folks out there. And so you got to have some policies. And policies and procedures are important. I think sometimes you can go overboard on that. But when you're a public entity employing that many people, I think it's really critical to have good policies in place. And I think that we're pretty good about doing that. The two that I want to talk about today are the employee grievance procedure. If you want to look it up, it's Part 7, Paragraph H of our policy, and assignments and transfers of teachers, which is Part 7, Paragraph M. So yeah, make sure to grab that. So importance of a grievance procedure, I think fairness is primary. You know, when you've got such a far-flung organization with different buildings, with different principals, with different assistant principals, with different, various folks that are supervisors, you want to make sure that everybody is treated fairly. So when you're talking about an employee at, maybe it's a custodial employee at Lincoln, you don't want them to be living by different rules than another employee at Stewart, for instance. And so we think that if you have good procedures and you have the ability to follow those good procedures, that ensures fairness, and that's certainly a primary consideration that we have. In essence, it boils down to what we call in the legal field due process, right? You want to make sure that everybody has a fair, is treated fairly when you have some type of a grievance going on with your supervisor, or perhaps a particular policy or procedure that you don't believe is fair or appropriate. So we strive for district-wide commonality, I'll call it. So the first procedure, let's talk about the grievance procedure. This applies, to all the employees in the district. It's a graduated process, and really the first part of it's real informal, real easy. You simply go to your supervisor if you've got a complaint, and you visit with them about it. Seriously, just tell them, I've got something I want to talk with you. And 99% of the time, that's the end of it. You have a visit, face-to-face, you talk it out, and nothing further. If that is not resolved to the satisfaction of the person that has a grievance, then they are allowed to submit the grievance in writing within 15 days. This is called a level 1 grievance. And you can submit it either again to your supervisor in a more formal way, or you can also submit it to the Director of Student Services. So if you've got this real issue with your supervisor that you just don't think you're going to be able to make much headway, we give you an alternative. You can come out and talk to the Director of Student Services and handle it that way as well. When you have that procedure, you're meet in person then with that individual, and you're given 10 days for a written decision then from that level. If you're still not satisfied with the way things have been handled, level 2 then allows you to proceed to the superintendent with a written grievance. And again, you have the in-person meeting with the superintendent within 10 days of the submission, and then the superintendent then provides a written decision within 10 days of the meeting. Once again, you still think it's not being handled like it should be handled, so then you have the right to appeal to the school board. A written grievance is filed with the school board, an in-person meeting with the school board within 30 days, and it's a little longer then because we only have one school board meeting per month typically, so we stretch out that date a little bit further, and then again a written decision within 10 days. If it involves a condition of employment, then you can go to a level 4, which is an appeal to the Department of Labor. They have a formal hearing, investigation, and hearing process with an administrative law judge. Ultimately, it can be appealed to the circuit courts in South Dakota and ultimately the Supreme Court. There's actually a case where it's been a while, but there was a case in the Supreme Court on a teacher grievance that all the way went all the way to the Supreme Court. So I think the takeaway here is we have a very structured and comprehensive grievance procedure. It's easy to access. It ensures quick response times. You don't have to deal with the same people. You literally can go from your supervisor to the director of student services to the superintendent to the school board to the Department of Labor to the courts and ultimately the Supreme Court. So it's certainly a comprehensive policy. You have the right to, as a public employee in our district at least, you have the right to present your grievance to a much higher administrative level than any private employer that I know of. Can you imagine just saying, ultimately, I'm just going to go talk to the CEO at some of the plants in town or something? Would be unheard of. So our folks, I think, are encouraged and protected. Speaking of the protection, then there's also South Dakota prevents discrimination and retaliation if you actually do engage in the grievance process. So I think that kind of covers the grievance part of it, unless anybody has any questions. I know I'm going quickly, and when I'm in depositions or hearing, the court reporter often says, "Mr. Marlowe, would you just slow down?" I'm trying to keep this under 10 minutes, so I promise Kathy.
Does any board member have any questions for Mike with the grievance policy? Just one, and under 5 miscellaneous, it says all parties may be represented by counsel. So does that mean if I want to have an attorney present, or does that mean I want to have somebody in my peers, or what would that be?
I have that on my general notes, but yes, everybody's entitled to have counsel if you wish. It can be an attorney, it can be a member of the Yankton Education Association.
Oh,
It can be somebody from the state SDEA.
Okay.
And it can be a friend. Oftentimes, not oftentimes, but we certainly have seen other teachers that will come in and maybe sit and provide a little guidance.
Okay.
So.
Very good. Thank you.
I have
Yeah.
a question. So just maybe define the role of a board member again.
Okay, I'm
So
going to get to that.
Okay, all right.
We're
thank
going-
you.
Just telling you what the basics are now, and then I'll try to address that in a little bit. So assignments and transfers, that applies to certified teachers only. So if you don't like the building you're in and you're a para, tough luck. You don't have a right to there's not a written policy, at least for assignments and transfers, but that doesn't mean that you can't work with your principal or someone to ask for that kind of accommodation, and I think that we've been very good about doing that as well. But 2 methods. One's voluntary, one's involuntary. Voluntary is not very confidential, or is not very not much in contention very often, although sometimes an involuntary turns into voluntary after things are explained a little bit. And we would obviously much rather do a voluntary transfers or assignment. But in order to have a voluntary, to apply for a voluntary transfer and assignment, you must be in or beyond the 4th consecutive term of employment with the district. And you must file a written request for each vacancy that you would like to transfer or be assigned to. So you can go in your current building, or you can ask for a transfer to another building. Current building, you can ask for a grade level or teaching assignment change, depending on your building, or you can ask for a transfer to another building. Once that process is completed and you sign up with you submit your request under written request, building principal then reviews all the applicants and makes a written recommendation to the superintendent based on specific criteria. And I don't want to spend a lot of time, but I think it's important. I think some people would like to see maybe the board more engaged and more active in the employee transfer policy. But I think it's important to know that this particular procedure policy that obviously has been adopted by the board has specific criteria that you're supposed to follow in determining whether to allow a transfer or an assignment, and it also applies on the informal basis. So the following criteria are, this transfer or assignment change would be based on one or more of the following criteria: staff requirements and master scheduling. Obviously, staff requirements are very important when you're running a school. You have to have staff to teach the kids. Curriculum or program revision, deletion, or addition. So another good example would be when we had a read and recovery program. We needed people to teach that. Never had it before. So what do? You ask somebody if they're willing to take a new assignment and go after that kind of approach. Opportunity for professional growth. Sometimes it's one of those things where maybe someone has gone out and gotten a master's degree, and they want to do a little bit of something different in their high school or the middle school. Contribution which the teacher could make to students in a new position. Sometimes maybe somebody's taking on a coaching role at the middle school, but they're not a middle school teacher. And that would be a good reason maybe to transfer over there and get the teacher maybe more involved with the students that they might also be coaching. Qualifications of the teacher compared to those of candidates within and without the district. So if we've got somebody that applies for a position and we've got a better person already in place, it's nice to be able to shuffle people around a little bit and then maybe take someone that's a good teacher, a nice candidate, but not maybe for that specific job. We can slide them into that role where we're going to transfer that other teacher out and might be a better fit. Improvement of staff relationships within a building. Whether it's a law firm, a hospital, a restaurant, a school, sometimes the chemistry just isn't very good for whatever reason. And so, we've certainly had circumstances where we've got very good qualified teachers, and for whatever reason, there's just the atmosphere just isn't right. And you make a change, and it really can make a difference in how they approach things and how the rest of the folks react in the building, and can really make a tenuous situation better. And then, of course, results of supervisor evaluation reports are things that we can also use as criteria for these transfers. So I know I spent some time on that, but I think it's important to know, for the board to know in particular, and the folks that are being transferred, this isn't just some willy-nilly deal. It's something that we see a need, we have these criteria, in terms of the voluntary one, the other teachers are out there looking for a change, perhaps, and then go to the principal, ultimately go to the superintendent, and if the superintendent then ultimately if the voluntary request for a transfer is ultimately denied, it doesn't end there. That teacher then has the right to come in and visit with the superintendent directly and present his or her case to the superintendent. And I know that Wayne doesn't just rubber stamp things. He makes changes at times, and I know that I've been school district attorney for decades, I guess. So involuntary transfer, not something that people really like to do very often, I think. And the best part about this, though, is I know that on many occasions there's an involuntary transfer that turns into a voluntary transfer. If we look at something and say, wow, there's not an open position here, but reading recovery again would be a good example, or we add some kind of a program where we need a teacher, and nobody is stepping up and volunteering, but when you take a look at it, explain some of the criteria and why we want to make this transfer, lots of times it turns into a, sure, I'll do that. That makes good sense. So we really try to do that. But it only involves involuntary transfers to another building. Doesn't, it doesn't, you can't be forced to move around inside your own building. So I think it's, again, we use those same criteria that I just mentioned before, and I think it works pretty well. Any questions about transfers?
Any questions for Mr. Marlowe?
Just the last statement of you can't be moved around in your own building. Could you just explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so sorry?
You can.
You cannot, according to our policy.
Involuntary. An assignment, you can,
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
So just
Yeah.
terminology, it's not like say that again, it's the position or the assignment. The assignment can be
Well,
can be
our
involuntary.
administrators can move people within a building.
And then what is the difference for then out of that building?
The involuntary applies when you are forced to change a building.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I think that the takeaways here maybe are that, you know, we've got formal policies with formal criteria. You can appeal to the superintendent. Flexibility is really important for filling positions, especially in certain fields, math and science and some positions like that. The contract, the negotiated contract with the teachers permits assigned duties as prescribed. And also the contract incorporates board policies. And these contracts and policies and things, those are things that can be negotiated by the teachers' own representatives too. So of course, as Dr. Kindle has said to me, no kidding, on many, many occasions, we'll have some legal issues where, you know, you can easily go either way. And, you know, maybe the way that I think we ought to go is not the way we end up going, because he always says, what's best for the kids? That's what we're going to do. What's best for the kids? And paramount consideration is best outcome for our students. And so if we've got those circumstances where maybe we got a teacher that's not very happy about an involuntary transfer, it's because we're trying to make the best outcome for our students. There's no school board involvement in this process, which I think is something you can always change. I mean, you make the policies, right? But no school involvement because it's purely an administrative decision. There's well-defined criteria, and there's an internal appeal process to the superintendent. So I think the teachers are well covered and considered and listened to with this process. So let me just make just some general comments then. Policies and procedures in this district, they've been refined over many years. They're continuously reviewed and updated. They're often the subject of negotiations with the teachers and the teachers' representatives. And they help the school district avoid inequitable circumstances among staff because of those various circumstances in various buildings with various supervisors and that sort of thing. So it's important to have the policies in to follow along. Question before was on the board's function. So, you know, simply put, the board sets policy, right? Every one of these policies that is in our handbook here and all those sorts of things, the last two that I just talked about, those are board policies. Those are things that this board right here decides on. If you don't like a policy that we've got, then convince your other folks to put it on the agenda and talk about it, right? You set policy. What you shouldn't have to do is go down and say, oh, gee, you know, does it make sense to you know, put Sue Smith over into this position or that position or whatever? You set policy, give them criteria, trust your folks to do the work that they're supposed to do. And if there's an appeal process in place like there is, that's a good thing. In rare but important circumstances, however, the board serves an important due process role also. Okay? When we're talking about these appeals that come from a grievance or a termination, something like that, the board, you have to hear individual cases involving grievances or terminations, and you're the judge and the jury then. Okay? And I think it's important to be unbiased and make decisions based upon what the parties present to you in an ultimate hearing. Oftentimes the parties will be, especially in a termination, they might be represented by counsel. And typically, if we have hearings, I or some member of my firm will be at these hearings. And so it's important for you to make these decisions based upon good, solid evidence that you hear in these procedures, in these due process procedures that you've put in place. Ex parte contacts, so without the other party being present, That's a big no-no for lawyers, right? If we're in litigation or there's a dispute, you don't go to the judge and say, hey, judge, let's go out and have a beer, right? You don't go to the jury and say, hey, you're going to be on this jury pool. I got this list of these jurors, and I want to talk to you about this. Right? We don't do that. You get disbarred for doing that. But you're actually, you're not prohibited from doing that. If somebody approaches you and say, hey, I want to talk to you about this transfer thing or this termination deal or this something going on, you're not prohibited from talking to that person about that. Whether it's from the admin side or from the teacher or the employee side. Just because you're not prohibited, however, doesn't mean that maybe you shouldn't give it some serious thought before you get too far down that rabbit hole. If you tell somebody, I understand I understand your point, and we're concerned about that, and we have a process in place to take care of that. Ultimately, it may be me and the members of my board deciding that, but right now, let's let the process work. 99% of the time, if they go to their supervisor and talk it out, that's the end of it. Okay. And if it's not, then they can talk to others and others and others before they get to you. So I think it insulates you from criticism from the opposing side. It lets the process that you implemented, right? You guys put these in place. It allows you to implement the process as intended. There's lots of good procedural safeguards in there. And, ultimately, you might have to make tough decisions, but you'll do so with the full knowledge presented by both sides at a hearing if it comes to that. So I know that oftentimes if we've got something that we think might end up being a hearing before the board, we don't necessarily share a lot of details with the board for that very reason. And so just, I think, bear that in mind. And there's one caveat that I always think is important. If somebody does approach you and has a serious concern about student or staff safety issues, sexual harassment, something like that, that's one where you take it seriously. You talk to the administrators, you talk to the attorneys, whatever, and then we need to take action on those sorts of things. So, I guess certainly listen enough to make sure that it's not something that really needs immediate attention. So I'll be happy to answer questions that you have. I think we're meeting after an exec session too, so my over 10 minutes probably.
Any other questions for Mr. Marlowe? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation and going through those two policies for us. Item number 9 on our agenda is the Forward 2029 Strategic Plan Review, and we're going to hit on a couple areas: facilities, funding, and mental well-being. So we're going to start with facilities, and Melanie Reichen and Carrie Mitzel are going to do the presentation.
Good evening. I'm just going to give you a bit of an update on our facility committee. I think you have it in front of you, but our visioning statement, in its 5-year vision, the Yankton School District has implemented a comprehensive plan for our elementary building configuration and renovations and construction. And as you all know and have been part of, the opening of Trailhead Learning Center this year has been part of our facility plans. And now we're looking at what are our next steps in regards to our facilities. So our goal is to implement a comprehensive plan for our elementary building configuration, including possible renovations to existing buildings or construction of a new building. Our objectives start with defining what it is that we need. Are we making a recommendation for a grade level type building? For example, a 2nd and 3rd grade building and a 4th and 5th grade building, or a 1st through 3rd, or if we like our current setup of being 1st through 5th grade buildings. And then with that, the next objective is a discussion of elementary school renovations and or construction of a new elementary school facility, or the addition onto Trailhead Learning Center. Those were all discussions during our last 5-year plan, and have kind of moved forward with this 5-year plan. One of the action items was to organize school and community discussions and committees regarding grade level elementary schools versus neighborhood schools. We had that originally scheduled for next school year, 2026, 2027. We had discussed moving that back a year. I think the freshness of Trailhead Learning Center and the excitement for that it takes a little bit for our community to get used to. I think as we've been in discussion at the beginning of the year, the traffic patterns and all of those things that happen with a new school and the existing schools. So giving that a little bit more time. I think it will also be helpful to our community as we celebrate 100 years at Beadle School next year to get out the information about, yes, we have a 100-year-old building, at least parts of it are 100 years old. And so we're currently in a planning stage for our 100th birthday celebration in September of 2026. And I think that will put a little bit more notice on what we have for current facilities. That's why we decided to move that back a year. Under Objective 2, the discussion of elementary school facility renovations or construction of a new elementary school facility or addition on the Trailhead Learning Center. You know, during our last 5-year plan, one of those next action steps was, well, to discuss, could we bring all the first graders out to Trailhead? I think what we're feeling right now is adding 200 or 250 more bodies to that area might not be such a good recommendation. Nor, you know, when we talk about renovations, you know, again, this was part of that last discussion. If Beadle School were to close eventually and those students went to Stewart and Lincoln and those buildings were renovated, well, what does 200 more students mean to those locations? I think one of the things that we're becoming more and more aware of is that traffic flow and the traffic patterns that those things create. And you know what? Lincoln and Stewart are not new buildings either. So you think of doing additions onto those. So what we plan to do in 28-29 then would be to hire a firm to do a study of our elementary academic facilities and look at our building configuration. One of our action items for our first objective was to bring in Terry Nebelsack, who is a former principal and superintendent in Huron, South Dakota, who helped lead a grade level discussion and building reconfiguration in Huron. Have him bring that experience and knowledge to our community so we can make an informed decision on whether that's something our community wants to go with or not. And then our last action item is to begin elementary school renovations, construction of a new elementary school facility and or addition on the Trailhead Learning Center. So, you know, as the principal of the oldest building, I often get the question, you know, when students are starting now and as first graders for next year, well, will the building still be here? You know, we've been through this now with bringing people in. You think of the timeline for something being done, you know, a couple of years of study, a year of planning and beginning construction. You think those things don't happen within a 2 or 3 year time span. It's more of like a 5 to 7 year time span that those things are happening. But we need to make plans for the future by having those conversations and bringing in the right people to help lead us. Because if we keep saying, well, in 5 to 7 more years, we'll talk about this again. So I think that's a great thing for our strategic plan to keep it in our conversations and to keep us moving forward. The only change was moving that 1 year back, thinking that our community might be more receptive to that conversation once there's more information out about, you know, Beadle turning 100, them getting used to this Trailhead Learning Center concept and the traffic flows and picking up at multiple buildings. I think those things will be helpful to engage our community in those discussions. Mrs. Riken is back here sitting politely. She's kind of we talked about me being the talker and her being the question answerer. What can I answer for you?
It sounds, there's a lot of thought process that goes to it. And actually, I'm going to turn it as I look around too, it's all school district, either personnel or administration or leaders, but like to the cameras and to the person who's going to write it in the paper or the radio, it's a call to the public too. We're in the early phases and we want public participation. We want their input and, for them to come to the 100th celebration, for them to have their voice heard, and not wait till later and then, have negative thoughts about it when you never participated. This is the time now. We want everybody to participate, and as fellow teachers or fellow leadership, we can call our friends and family, but also we want the public to have their input now and always. Yeah.
All right, very well said, thank you. Next up, funding, Dr. Kindle and Shireen, you're up.
Do you want me to go up there, or is right here fine?
Right here is fine.
Okay, all right. So, want to talk to you a little bit about our action plan for funding. And I think maybe to start this off, I just want to say that, when we passed the opt-out, and that's already been 6 years or so ago, this community stepped up and they trusted us and they agreed with us to have an opt-out. I will tell you it's not an easy process, and the legislature has tried to make it very difficult, if not impossible. But I just really want to thank our community for passing our opt-out. And then about 2 years ago, the school board that was here, put out a resolution to renew our opt-out. And of course, we had to go through all the advertising and putting it in the paper and following the law, which we did. Shireen did a really good job with that. But there was an opportunity then for anybody that would like to take a petition out and take that to a vote, that they could do that. And just as a reminder, that did not happen. Our community once again trusted us with the money that they had provided in the opt-out, and I think that's a credit to the school board and our school district that we were really good stewards of that money. We continue to be. And so what we're going to be up here in January of 2028, we will be looking at, the board will have to decide if they are going to put forth a resolution to renew the opt-out. And it will be for how long, how much. And between now and then, a lot could change with the legislature, right? They could put several more rules in there. But regardless, in 2028, probably around January, we will put forth a resolution, or this board will, to talk about a renewal of the opt-out. So that's what we're going to be looking at in January 2028. But probably, if you see on here the target date of fall of 2027, the superintendent and others are going to have to go out and have a lot of public meetings. What I have found in the last two opt-outs, the one that was passed and the renewal, was that there was a lot of appetite for the district to go out and have lots of meetings. And there were plenty of questions, and really good questions. And to be very honest with you, we had some people that opposed our first two opt-outs that voted for the third opt-out. And we had people that didn't vote for the third opt-out that came around with the renewal and understood why we were using it, why we needed it, and supported the renewal by not having a petition. So I think there's really good groundwork that has been laid for this, but there's a lot of work to do ahead of a resolution, that we prepare our community for that. And that's not just for the superintendent. That's for our teachers, our other administrators, other staff members, our board members. We all got to go out there and we have to really promote the need for a renewal of an opt-out, because without it, it's just not going to be good. And I don't think we need to get there. I really don't. I think that we are trusted by our community, and I believe that they'll support a renewal of an opt-out. So the second objective is just to make sure that we have a sustainable health care plan, and through our self-insurance plan. Frankly, I think we've done a wonderful job with that. I've always said, as long as I'm superintendent and I'm steering the ship, that's not part of the ship that you want to sink. And so as long as I'm here, we are going to make sure that we have a great health care plan for our employees. And we're going to continue to work hard with that. Matter of fact, we have some meetings coming up that we'll schedule, just like it says here, that we will meet with a consulting firm, Hub International. They've been great, so we'll continue to do that. And then the third one ties in kind of with what Mr. Mitzel said, that at some point we're going to have to consider whether or not we're going to need some kind of bond, and we will. Whether we build new or we renovate our current elementary schools or we do a combination of both, we will have to go to the public for a bond, and that requires a vote. And so once again, that's something that we will have to go out there, educate the public, get people involved, as Sarah said, that they need to come forward and they need to get involved with these kinds of processes, and we encourage them to do that. So that's kind of an update on our financial piece, unless Shireen has anything else that you'd like to add.
No, that sums it up, the three objectives. Just continue working on it. It's never stopped. We just can continue educating. Educating is the biggest thing, is educating what it means and get it out there in front of everything.
I'll just say the one thing that I appreciate is that you guys are looking, so we're, as a district, looking far ahead has bode well, words, has done well for our district, so we're not scrambling. None of this feels like last minute trying to fix something. It's long term. We're looking ahead. We're preparing. We're planning to make sure we don't end up in a bad spot and that the ship keeps sailing nicely. So thank you for your leadership in that.
All right, thank you. And the third part is mental well-being, and Jerome Klimisch and Ryan Moores are going to present to us on that aspect.
Thank you. I just want to once again congratulate Dr. Kindle on that major award for Yankton, South Dakota, and for him. I worked with him for many, not years, decades. And in fact, when he called me up to transfer to the middle school, I had black hair, and when I left, I had a few gray ones coming in, but you're right. He always put the student decision, what's best for kids, first, and that's so important. I'll remember calling all the middle schoolers down to the gym to celebrate the Vikings winning the 1998 NFC championship, almost, going to the Super Bowl, and boy, did we have fun right up until the time Gary Anderson missed that field goal. We had to come back to school on Monday, but we had a great time with the kids. And looking at this mental well-being, he has always promoted having fun in school, and that really is what it's about. We have grads up here. You may not remember your math lesson or a certain English lesson, but you remember all the social connections and the people that you went to school with and the fun activities that the teachers planned for you. And just having a good time is the best thing that you just can't beat it for mental well-being. And we try to do that with staff, everything from Heather's chili cook-off to all the things that Mr. Moores and Matt talked about. If you want mental well-being, come to prom or come to the middle school dance like last Friday night. You will walk out it. You will jog out of there, clicking your heels together and just having fun. But I think that's so important. So, anyway, Ryan had a lot to say about just some great mental well-being things that are happening at the high school, and like I said, Matt with the middle school, just a lot of fun things. But I wanted to focus a couple of things. Let's on number 2, providing ongoing professional development for staff. We have done a lot with Think 3D, our wellness committee that's ongoing in all the buildings. In service, we have some summer training and book studies that are coming up. I can't let the cat out of the bag, but we have some great things for staff to participate in that will lead to not only their mental well-being, but for our students also. We have, I just think of responsive classroom at the elementary level and team meetings where morning meetings are so important to kids to get together and build relationships before the school day even starts, and that can happen every day. Number 3, promoting wellness for the students, staff, and family. We have built a great relationship with Lewis and Clark, with counseling services, Heartland, our other counseling services, but the new core program has really, really been a great mental well-being, in some cases, savior for the parents and our students. We have had numerous kids from our different buildings go to core, and we want to have some tours and things like that here later on in the year for that. But it is a really good program. And Vera, HSC, that graduation that we had, we talked about a few weeks ago, what a great mental well-being celebration when her family in tears came and she got her diploma. All great things for mental well-being. We have a relationship. We have so many relationships, whether it's the homeless shelter, systems of care. We just have a lot of things going on with our community, and I think those are all strengths. Okay. Our action plan. One thing that I wanted to focus a little bit on is our action item with using a research-based screener to identify and determine mental wellness needs. At the elementary last year, we started a it's a very short. It's 20 questions for the kids. It's 20 questions for the teacher. We started first, second, and third grade. Our first graders, the students don't do it, but the teachers do with the screener. But in second and third grade, both the teacher and the students go over a short 20 question little screener. And it's so important, like in our intervention programs that we have with our title, we have to know what the students' needs are. So we use, MAPS testing to identify weaknesses across the district in reading and math, and then we build on it. We build our interventions around it. That's what the SABRS does. So like I said, it's very short. It looks at social, academic, and emotional behaviors. It's just a screener. It's not asking anything about home, anything like that. And then we use that information to guide our interventions that we want to plan around it, whether it's be for counseling or, helping the teachers decide what's needed for the kids in the areas of behavior. Like I said, we do first, second, and third grade. We do it 3 times a year. We do it in the fall, winter, and spring. So we'll have that coming up. So it's a pilot. In Yankton, we just don't jump into things. We like to look and see what's out there and what we're doing. So this last year, we got used to the counselors giving the screener. And then now this year, we met with all the teachers in January to go over what we do with the data and how we can use it going forward. Now we have decisions as a committee, is this the one, is this the screener that we want to use in the future? What grade levels do we want to do it with? It kind of replaced that old safe and drug-free school that was around for years and years, and it was really kind of hard to use the data. But this is a good screener. It's been used by many school districts across the United States. So being research-based is so important. The other things we've really focused on, like I mentioned, responsive classroom, have some more training available for that. Zones of regulation, which really help kids in the classroom. It's kind of a color-coded system if you're having a green day or a green moment, all the way to red, and how to deal with your emotions and help you work through that. Okay? At the high school level, I just want a couple of things from the counseling department. The Bring Change to Mind Club has been going really well, promoting mental health awareness amongst the students. They've had a bridge walk. Our psychology students at YHS have been able to tour HSC, which is really a learning experience for them. And the middle school, like I said, come to the school dance. You got everything you need right there. In one night, your mental well-being can go up. or maybe down, just depend on that. But I'm going to close with our TAT, our MTSS program that we started, almost 5 years ago now. I went to a TAT on Friday morning at Beetle Elementary School, and it was great to see when things come together. And in this case, it did. The school psych was there, the counselor was there, the teacher was there. And we talked about a student who first quarter had 30 missing assignments. Grades were failing, and the teacher got them into this TAT process. And now, after the end of the second quarter, they had like 16 late assignments. On Friday, they had only 4 for the fourth quarter and didn't see any more coming. So this student went from 30 to 4 missing assignments, and it took a daily check-in, check-out with the counselor and, communication with the parents, where they got more organized. They got, a little agenda going so they knew what was due, when it was due, and any obstacles that it would take to get it done. And now we have a kid that we're ready to send off to the middle school that has the tools to be successful at the middle school. So I think that says a lot about our MTSS and our programs that we've started. And once again, was that relationship with the teacher and the counselor and everybody on the team to make sure that they could be successful. Okay? All right. Mr. Moores, do you have anything you'd like to add? Fun day? Okay. All right. Any questions by the school board?
Any questions for our presenter? I thought maybe you were the, question man. That's what your role was, or the nod.
Point 'em out.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
do want to ask a really quick question. I'm sorry.
Nope.
The Sabres
Yes.
program, you said January they had updated information. Is that correct for teachers to review and go over, or?
Okay, good question. So last year was our first year giving the Sabres,
Mhm.
and we collected the data. Now you have the data. What do you do with it?
Mhm.
And we wanted to make sure that the teachers at the elementary knew what we were going to do with the data and how they could use that successfully in the classroom. So that's really the phase that we're in now. Is now we got the data. What do we do with it?
And Sabre specifically, you said nothing home related. It asks 20 questions. Is it specific
it's-
to the way a student learns?
Right. It's social, academic, and emotional behaviors. So
Mhm.
you like school, or
Okay, gotcha.
one of the sample,
Mhm.
one of the questions. Academics, what areas of the classroom are you good in?
Sure.
And the counselors give it,
Okay.
and then the teacher also takes it. What our goal is, and I remember when we worked with the company, is sometimes the kids maybe in our emotional disability classrooms, we have a pretty good handle on what their needs are. Okay? Sometimes through their acting out and whatever, maybe that gave us a lot of feedback. But when they said, what about maybe the very, very quiet kid in your classroom that maybe is dealing with anxiety and some of these things that we don't even know about, worry about that one assignment that they forgot to do, might set them into a tailspin. Now, when you have that information, how can you help that student too?
Absolutely. No, I like that. I feel like it really helps bridge that
Yep.
gap.
Yep.
So, thank you. I appreciate the
Yeah.
information.
I just had one other quick comment regarding our strategic plans. What I am most proud of about our strategic plans that we've done in the last 10 or 15 years, you can pick any of those 3 5-year plans up, including this one, and we get stuff done. It's not just a document with a bunch of fancy words and you don't understand what it means, but these are action items. We are getting things done for kids in the district. And so I think what we've done here is just really, really great.
All right, item number 10 on our agenda is to revisit back with the curriculum, and Mrs. Valnes is up there to be able to provide kind of an overview of the 2 areas that we looked at last month. And so that information has now been on public display for the 30 days. So I'm going to let you take it away. You can start
right.
with music, and we'll
Yep.
go from there.
All right, so our music committee was junior K through 12th grade, so one committee. And on the memo, it has all of the different resources for each grade level, which were presented in March. And as Kathy said, they were on display for public input for the last 30 days. Most of them are online digital resources, so they're listed on the website. But we did have some samples out here at the admin building as well. The comments that I received were from committee members. I didn't get any myself of outside community members, but comments from the committee members, especially our parents on the music committee. Thankful to be a part of the process, being asked to be on part of the committee, as well as gaining that deeper understanding in all of the work that our teachers do in order to select the resources that they find. So the resources have been budgeted for purchase for the 25-26 school year, with implementation next school year, the 26-27 school year. So on behalf of the music curriculum committee members, I would recommend that the board purchase or adopt the recommended materials as presented on the board memo. And before you do, I forgot to say, for all of the music people that are here or listening, thank you again. Thank you for Jacqueline for being on our committee. It takes a lot of work, and the teachers put in a lot of time on the committee. Any questions?
All right, any questions for the music curriculum? If not, I'll open it up for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the music resources and textbooks as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the music resources and textbooks. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call please.
Mueller,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Frick,
Yes.
Schild,
Yes?
Greenway.
Yes. Moving on to item B is to look at the science materials.
All right, so in March, I again presented the science materials, and these are 2 separate memos. So we have a kindergarten through 5th grade memo for textbook resources, and then a middle school, high school memo as well. Noted from the committee, again, thank you for their time, dedication. I really enjoy working with the content specialists in all areas. I learned so much from them as well. The materials were really selected and highlighted. They emphasized that student engagement for science as well as that hands-on collaborative learning. In March, I shared about the lab and simulation experiences that start with our little kids in, well, all over TLC actually, but in kindergarten all the way through those more intricate lab experiences at the high school. And so those materials too have been on display online as well as out here in printed form for the past 30 days. I have not received any public comment for these materials, but again, appreciation from our committee members. I did have some teachers reach out and just appreciate the efficiency of our committee, as well as the dedication of the principals and myself with listening to their recommendations and moving forward there. So on behalf of the science committee, I recommend the purchase and adoption of the instructional resources as presented in both board memos.
All right, I'll open it up for a motion to approve the science resources and textbooks.
I make a motion to approve the science resources and textbooks as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve those resources and textbooks for science. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Frick,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Schild,
Yes?
Greenway.
Yes. Item number 11 on our agenda is to consider amending the 25-26 school calendar. We ended up with 4 snow days this year, and the information before us is looking at calendars that would adjust for making up 1 snow day, 2 snow days, 3 or 4. And then along with that information, we also received the Department of Education required hours for the students. So I'm going to open it up to the board members to start the conversation of what you would like to do with those 4 snow days.
Kathy, can I clarify? Do we need to make any action if we're doing nothing, if we're not making an amendment? Is there any action needed, or do we have to make an action to keep the calendar as is?
I would think we would want a motion to keep the calendar as is.
Thank you.
If we're gonna open up discussion, I'll just state where I'm at with it, and I personally would like to just keep it as is. I think, last year we definitely had some different moving parts that we took into account as to why we did what we did with TLC opening. There was a lot of people moving from building to building and a lot of transition within the buildings that the students were and teachers were leaving. So that was a big reason for why things were done differently last year. As for this year, things have calmed down a little bit. And I know too, how hard teachers work even through the summer as well. I don't think I've ever talked to a teacher that doesn't spend time in their school in the summer. So, I think that's one of the things that's really awesome is being able to be a part of this district and know that we have teachers that are so dedicated and give their personal time even when it's those summer months. So I personally have zero issue with wanting to keep it as is.
I just want to share a thought too. Being a new board member, I'm sifting what are our responsibilities and who are we. We're due unto the public to pay people to do public education to offer for free in our community to our children. And I think sometimes if we're like, okay, we paid them for this much of time, and we had some snow days, and Kathy was calling me, and I was just asking questions as the board president. I called her, I just said, can you just explain like the Department of Education requirement hours and all of that and where that falls? And in that conversation, being a former teacher and witnessing colleagues and having that experience, I want the public to hear too, like Jacqueline said, like we know teachers are in there in the summertime, but even snow days, I told Kathy, I said, just because you don't come in that day doesn't mean there's no work. Actually, snow days cause more work because at any grade level, you're having to replan and you're having to reschedule. And she's like, well, couldn't we just, if we make it up, could you shorten? I'm like, well, if there was a test, then you have to change. And then maybe you need to cut lessons down the line. And it really does impact, and it doesn't mean not work. So just for the public to be aware of the amount of work that snow days and everything actually add to staffing concerns. So, yeah.
And to address the hours, I know we've talked about that, and I think this gets brought up every year, but I think it's really important to know how Yankton School District is set up, and all of our hours are met. So the requirements, that's not a question. So again, that's another, I think, point to all of this is our teachers are putting in those hours in which they're paid for. So.
And we're talking about the students as well.
Yes, our students' hours as, yes.
Yep,
Yes,
requires us to have so many
hours
of
per students, but
yep,
yes, the
contact.
teachers are working those hours too, so.
Kathy, can I just share those hours for the public? Because they do ask, and I think it's important. So kindergarten right now, the Yankton School District puts in 551 hours beyond the state requirement. For grades 1 through 5, it's 113 hours beyond. For grades 6 through 8, it's 157 hours beyond. And for grades 9 through 12, it's 105 hours beyond the requirement. And that equates to several days that we go above and beyond what's required by the state. And we're certainly not ashamed of that. We're proud of that. But when it comes to the end of the year and we have snow days, it really does give some good justification for not needing to make those up.
I move to keep the schedule as is without any amendments.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second before us to keep the school calendar as is. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, let's call it to a vote.
Schild,
Yes?
Frick,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Greenaway.
Yes, and I'm just going to take a moment and just kind of elaborate on that as well too. Just, I did reach out to the board members just to kind of try to get their feel to see if anybody had questions and, why we would keep it the same, why we would change it. And I think it's really great to know that in in the whole discussion, we know that the teachers are professionals and, you know, just, it's amazing how much time that they put in. And so we know you're there in the summer. We know that there is extra time that you put in. And the public had their concern as well, as far as, you know what, we're off that day. You know, hourly staff doesn't get paid. And so all of those things are taken into consideration, and we weigh everything very carefully before those decisions are made. And it's not just willy-nilly that we want to see you come back and spend 4 extra days at school. That's never been a consideration or a thought in all of the years that I've been here. It's always about, have we met the requirement? Have we done the job? And I think tonight you heard that as well too. 4 days out, and we still recognize the professionalism and the dedication that you have to the students. So thank you. All right, and with that, we will move on to item number 12, which is executive session. Just move into executive session per South Dakota
Okay.
Codified Law.
Motion to move into executive session per South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, item 1.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to move into executive session for South Dakota Codified Law 125-2, item number 1. Roll call, please.
Mueller,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Frick,
Yes.
Shield,
Yes.
Greenway.
Yes, and we do not expect any executive action to come out of that meeting. All right. Okay. All right, I now declare us out of executive session. Last item on our agenda is motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.